Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles, and on this episode we're reviewing WWE Summer Slam for 2023. If you haven't seen my shows before, I do grade everything on a 1 to 5 scale, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. We start the show with a cold open with Kid Rock, which is kind of cool, but I feel like they could have picked a less controversial artist. It's not like Kid Rock is the only person that has ties to Detroit. I mean, there's Eminem, there's all the Motown singers. Hell, they could even brought in Kiss with the Detroit Rock City tie-in. I understand why they do it. Kid Rock has definite ties to WWE. I just feel like he's a little bit polarizing, to say the very least. I feel like half of your crowd is automatically going to dislike him. That's just my opinion. We go right into our first match, which is Logan Paul versus Ricochet. I really like this match. I like the pacing of this match. I like the style. I like Logan Paul as a heel here. I think he's really good. This might be Logan Paul's best match in WWE so far. I think these two guys work extremely well together. Logan gets to delve more into his heel side, where Ricochet, obviously he's a perfect babyface. The crowd loves him. This was a really good opener. I liked it. There was a couple sloppy moments. Spanish Fly on the floor didn't look like it landed quite properly. I'm going to give him that. I'm going to not take so much off of that. Logan Paul does pick up the win after hitting Ricochet with a pair of brass knuckles that were given to him by someone from his podcast. I forget what they said the guy's name was. I don't watch Impulsive enough to know him. I thought this was a really good opener. I'm giving this a 4. Then we get one of my favorite things of the show. Sheamus arrives at the building in a monster truck, and I just had to put it on here because that just is awesome, just seeing Sheamus riding in the passenger side of a monster truck. That's just cool. Next up, we have the third match in a trilogy. We have Brock Lesnar going up against Cody Rhodes. And I'm going to preface this by saying I'm a big fan of both of these guys. I've been a fan of Brock Lesnar ever since he debuted. I'm a huge Cody Rhodes fan. He's probably in my top 5 favorite wrestlers right now, and probably in the mix for number 1. I've been a huge fan of his for a very long time. I thought he was great in his first run. I loved his stuff that he did in Ring of Honor, New Japan, and of course helping to create AEW. I loved his run back here. This was a little bit disappointing. I feel like this match fell a little bit flat. I think Roman Reigns had a little bit too much offense here. If the end goal is to build Cody Rhodes back up to have him in the main event of WrestleMania 40, this is a rubber match where Cody Rhodes should have been at least equal with Brock Lesnar. However, I have the feeling of he was lucky to survive Brock Lesnar again. I don't know, it was just, there are a few things like Cody Rhodes openly hitting Brock Lesnar in the face with the stairs in front of the referee and there not being a disqualification. This wasn't a no DQ match. It was just a regular match. There was just a few things that took me out of this. Ultimately, Cody Rhodes does pick up the win here. I'm going to give this one a 3. I thought it was good. I can't go much higher than that, though. Next up, we get our Slim Jim Battle Royal, and there's a lot of really good wrestlers in here. You have Sheamus, you have Rick Boogs, you have Bronson Reed, and I'm not going to name everybody because there's 25 people deep. AJ Styles is in here. Nakamura's in here. Obviously, the crowd's favorite LA Knight is in there. And the surprise entrant, I guess you could say, is Omos, which as soon as MVP came out with him, I really wanted Omos to win. I like Omos. I think he needs wins like these to really help build his character. I can't say I'm upset with how they did end up this match. Ultimately, LA Knight picks up the win. Yeah, I mean, it's to give the fans a good moment, a feel-good moment. Obviously, they debuted a Slim Jim commercial right after with him and Bianca Belair in it, so there's a tie-in. I thought this was good. I would have rather seen one of the canceled matches here, like Raquel Rodriguez and Rhea Ripley, or Trish Stratus and Becky Lynch. Just saying, I think they both would have been a better fit than this Battle Royal. I understand the brand integration. You made a lot of money off it. I'm not knocking the hustle. I'm giving it a 3, though. Next up, we have probably my least favorite match on the card. Ronda Rousey going up against Shayna Baszler in an MMA fight. or an MMA style fight, which, okay, if you're going to call it an MMA fight, let's have it in the fight pit, let's have it in an octagon, let's have it in a cage of some sort, let's have it on the mat without the ring, let's do it blood sport style with no ring ropes. Give me something that makes this different than just a normal submission match. And I know we're leaning into their history with both of these women being MMA Hall of Famers, being MMA stalwarts. Ronda Rousey's arguably one of the biggest draws in MMA history. This was an okay to decent concept. The match itself, I think, was clunky. I think it didn't quite give us what we wanted. Ultimately, Shayna Baszler picks up the win in this one. I thought it was kind of bad. I'm giving this one a 2. Next up, we have Gunther defending his Intercontinental Championship against Drew McIntyre. In contrast to the match before this, I really enjoyed this match. I thought this was really fun. I think these two have a great chemistry with each other. Drew McIntyre's style and Gunther's style are very similar. They work very well together. You throw a guy like Sheamus into that mix and you got another guy that works well with either one or both, as we seen earlier in the 3-way earlier this year. I really enjoyed this match. I think this is fun. Just some smash mouth, hard hitting, almost a King's Road style of wrestling match. Ultimately, Gunther picks up the win here. I'm giving this one a 4. It's pretty obvious that he's going to break the Honky Tonk Man's record at this point. I think he's less than 30 days now. I believe this would have been the last red herring to get him over that hump. They gotta do it at this point. They're so close that he might as well do it. I mean, I love the Honky Tonk Man, but records are meant to be broken, and it's 35 years old? Let's beat a 35-year-old record. Let's get him that before we move Gunther into the main title picture, which I think is going to be inevitable. You have to at this point. He's that dominant. Next up, we have the Universal Championship. We have Finn Balor going up against Seth freaking Rollins. Again, this was another match that I was heavily looking forward to that I feel disappointed a bit. And it's not to say the match was bad. It just underwhelmed to me a bit. I think the story should have been coming out of this that Finn Balor beat Seth Rollins, or if not, Damian Priest cashed in during the match to beat Seth Rollins, which Seth picks up the win here, obviously. I don't know if there was a timing issue or they're going to play a crisis of confidence on Finn Balor's part, but the ending was kind of wonky with Damian Priest sliding the briefcase and there being a little bit of just confusion, it looked like, before Seth Rollins hit the stomp on Balor on top of the briefcase. Afterwards, we seen Priest and Balor both looking at each other disappointingly. Dominic Mysterio and Rhea Ripley didn't even really get involved, even though they came out there at some point. I thought this was good. I can't say it was much better than that. Much like the Brock Lesnar-Cody match, I'm giving this one a 3. I think it just didn't live up to what I thought it could have been. Next up, continuing with the brand integration, we have the Alpha Academy and Maxine Dupree with Mike's Hard Lemonade, which brings in The Miz, who argues with them that his name is Mike. Just a silly little comedy skit, which I thought was nice to break up the action here. It definitely needed a break at this point, especially since this ended up being about a 3.5 hour show, almost 4 hour show. So I feel like that little break was a nice place to put it in here. That was followed up with a 3-way match for the SmackDown Women's Championship. We have Asuka defending the title against Charlotte Flair and also Bianca Belair. This was my favorite match of the night. I thought this, unlike some of the other matches here, delivered on its promise. You have 3 of the best women's wrestlers in the world in this match. 3 women that I don't think any configuration of the 3 could give you a bad match. I think you're going to have a great match anyway you put these 3 out there. The psychology in this match, Bianca with the knee injury, Charlotte and Asuka going back and forth, Asuka using the mist on Charlotte when she has a figure 8 on Bianca. That was all fantastic. This was as good of a 3-way match as you could possibly have. We see after the mist situation, Bianca rolls up Asuka to make herself the new women's champion, which she still has a hurt knee, which leaves us for the obvious spot. Io Sky and Bayley running down towards the ring with the Money in the Bank briefcase. Bayley clears out Charlotte and Asuka with the briefcase. Io Sky brings it in the ring, hits Bianca in the knee with it, gets the ref in there, hits her moonsault, picks up the 1, 2, 3. What a great moment after what I thought was a great match. So basically 2 matches technically. And then we get the big surprise of the night. Dakota Kai is there, and she comes and joins in the celebration. We don't see Bayley turn on Io Sky, which had been rumored that may be an issue, which I'm glad they didn't go that route. They didn't go with the obvious. They did something a little bit different here. I really enjoyed everything about this, between the 3-way, the cash-in, the return of Dakota. I'm giving this a 5. Now, last but not least, we have our main event for Tribal Combat for the title of the Tribal Chief and also the Universal Championship. We have Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns. And I kind of feel they may have painted themselves in a corner here, because they built Jey Uso up in a way that the fans all wanted him to win the championship. Very similar to what we had with Sami Zayn earlier in the year, and even Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. But this had the 3 years of story behind it. It had the whole bloodline arc building to this moment. And I kind of feel like this was a misstep. The match itself was good. Don't get me wrong, it was a really good brawling match, a really good hardcore match. Roman Reigns is absolutely S tier when it comes to in-ring talents. Jey Uso may have the best emotions as far as looking at his face of any wrestler in the world. And I mean, they're both phenomenal athletes. There's a couple things that just take it a little bit down for me. First, the involvement of Solo Sikoa. I thought the point of SmackDown was eliminating Solo Sikoa from the equation. And if he wasn't eliminated, why didn't he just come out in the beginning? I kind of had the feeling that Tribal Combat meant it was mano-a-mano, man versus man. So that took a little away from it for me. Not saying that this wasn't good, Solo getting involved. I like Solo too. But I feel like storyline-wise, Jey has to be a moron in kayfabe if he doesn't have a contingency plan for Solo Sikoa at this point. Whether that be going back to Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, or maybe other friends that he's made along the lines. Maybe getting Kofi Kingston to help him, or Xavier Woods, or hell, even bringing his father in there to stop Solo from going against Jey. There's a million things that he could have done on that, and I hate when they do that to the baby faces, make them just morons, because Solo has attacked him so many times that you have to expect a Solo attack now, kayfabe wise. He fights through the odds, he gets the upper hand on Roman, then we see a man come out of the crowd with a hood on and his face covered, and he pulls Jey off of Roman, and we get the ultimate heartbreak. Jimmy Uso turned on his brother. I understand the story moment, I understand the soap opera feel of it, I understand the emotion of it. I think it was the absolute wrong thing to do. This whole time, we had Jey protecting Jim. Jimmy was the one kicked out. Jimmy was the one that Roman was a little bit extra hard on. This felt like they needed an out, and Solo Sikoa wasn't going to be enough, so they had to throw Jimmy Uso on there, turning on his brother. Now you have both of his brothers have turned on him, so does that mean that Jay's the one that's in the wrong? I mean, his 2 brothers and his cousin, who basically they played up are like brothers, are all against him. This kind of felt like WCW towards the end, where they would have a guy turn on his partner only to join back with his partner, only to then turn on the partner again. And I feel like this is the first major misstep, in my opinion, in the Bloodline story. Roman does pick up the win here. I'm giving this one a 3. Overall, I thought this was kind of a lackluster SummerSlam. The triple threat is probably going to be the thing that I walk away with, and the cash-in as being my favorite things from the show. Gunther and Drew was really good. I liked that match. Logan Paul and Ricochet right up there with it as well. But everything else here felt disappointing, in my opinion. And it's not to say that they weren't good matches. It's just it felt deflating to watch this show. Overall, I'm going to give it a 3. It's right there in the middle. I expected much, much more of this. The WWE Premium Live events this year have all been really good. This is the first one I really feel like has been a misstep. I might be wrong, and I might tune in Friday night or Monday night, and we may get a better excuse from Jimmy why he turned on Jey, and it may reignite the Bloodline story. I don't know. To me, it was disappointing. That being said, let's smash that like button, share the video, subscribe if you haven't, and if you see where it says join, that's how you become a channel member. Becoming a channel member definitely helps out. If you made it all the way to the end, let me know your opinion. Do you think Jimmy should have turned on Jey? Do you think he should have stayed on Jey's side? Put it down here in the comments. Should Jimmy be with Jey, or should Jimmy be with Roman? Let me know down here in the comments. With all that being said, My name is George Coles, and this has been my review of SummerSlam 2023.